I'm glad you could join us this first Tuesday of 2025. So thank you for joining us tonight. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a special guest, a friend of mine who is a chiropractor, Dr. Jerry Morris, and he'll talk a little bit about the light and what he's been able to see about how it works. And we're going to get into some of the science again, which tails off from last year on the light and light properties and how it penetrates. So first thing, we want to congratulate Deanna, who has won the ultimate from from the December period. We also had another woman who won the competition for helping us connect with others, and Nalini, and she ended up getting the most number of people to decide to join us, and so that's great. Anyways, so we're going to get things started here with our short video.
15 years back, I realized that light could make a huge difference on the body. I ended up designing this very powerful light using LED technology. With this amount of very high power density, it can reach through the tissues and travel right to the joints. But the key is that the power density and the area is extremely important to deliver that light into that. The mitochondria receives that light and converts that energy into the cell. So it's like giving the cell super high octane fuel, and they run like a jet, and they're able to do all the things for repair in that. What are the products we have? Well, we have a small device, which is actually large when it comes to light therapy. You have a fairly large area of light and a high power density that can be used for different parts of the body, like your fingers, shoulder, back, neck, knees, ankle, anywhere on the body. And then we have what's called the mini canopy, which is about a foot square in size. And then we have our full-size canopy, which is basically 6 of the mini canopies. And then we have another device, which is the helmet, and that device can help for mental issues, for brain injuries, for concussions, for PTSD, TBI, all of those kinds of things. And there's new research out there that shows it could be helpful for not only strokes, but dementia, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's, and just different brain issues. Our plans are to move this technology into every area of the world where there's pain and inflammation, which is basically everywhere, and to expand that so people understand all the applications where this technology can be used to help them in their health in the body as a wellness device. People are looking for how they can treat themselves without drugs.
Okay, so now we're going to bring in our special guest, Dr. Jerry Morris. There he is. Hey,
Tom. How are you?
good, good. This is one of the few times that you're not looking at my back.
Exactly. Good to see each other face to face. Good to see you.
So, anyways, Jerry and I go back quite a number of years. My gosh, I think it's got to be 20 plus years, something like that.
Absolutely.
I haven't actually thought it through, but it's got to be somewhere around there or longer. But Jerry has helped me through my issues that I've had, and I've used the light along the way to help speed things up. And you've been able to use the light as well. So tell me a little bit. First of all, what did you think of when I first told you about light, that it would do something?
It was way back when, and I don't know, but this was one of the original things here.
Oh, wow. Wow. That is, oh, the Genesis Health Light. There we go.
It's a long time ago.
That's almost 16 years ago.
Yep. And we
Started.
started with that. It was a friend of mine was using it, and you were using it, and we tried it, and it was an amazing device. I mean, first or second generation. I'm not sure what that would have been back then.
Yeah, that was actually the second generation. First generation was a whole pile of prototypes, but the second generation was that one that you held up there, and that
Yeah.
had a halogen bulb in it, and we used special water filtering to reduce the heat that came from. There it is. There it is. Hey,
Still
hey.
works great,
Yeah, yeah,
still runs.
yeah.
But like I say, first generation and the evolution of science and your talent and your engineers and what you've come up with now is just, more than 16 light years ahead of where it used to be with that. Now we have this.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
this is so intense and so powerful, and it's in multiple settings. It's an incredible tool.
There we go.
It's small, but it's not lack of power, that's for sure.
Yep. So you've been able to use that on different parts of your body. Tell me a
Yeah,
little.
I've used it on family members and on myself. A couple of years ago, I was skiing and I fractured my hand. And being that I work with my hands all day, I didn't want to put it in a cast for 6 or 8 weeks. So what I did is I used the light on my hand, morning, noon, and night through that period of time, and I never even missed a day's work. It was sore a bit, but it was amazing to be able to go through the fracture and go through that and just keep going day to day through my career, and no residual problems, and my hand works really great. So that was one of the things that was a big turnaround. That was 2 years ago, be 2 years ago this February, and that was a pretty severe trauma I had, and I was pretty worried, but the light got me through. It was I didn't know, I knew it would work, but I just didn't know how well. I knew it would speed up my healing, but I
Yeah.
didn't know it would be able to keep me at work.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
No. And it's been used for, well, all kinds of different kinds of conditions. And we did laugh about this a while ago, as you said, Tom, you're missing the biggest market. What was that all about?
oh yes, absolutely. I've got a lot of guys in my
Use your words cautiously.
no, I get it. I've got a lot of guys in my age group that usually what'll happen, they'll have problems with their plumbing a little bit. And so what happens based on red light, and I know a friend of mine in the States who works with sports teams and top golfers, and he's been talking about red light therapy, a different type of red light, like in a band, and how it changes your testosterone levels and it changes your energy levels. And so I said, you know what? I have a couple of friends of myself said, let's try this red light and see if it has any effect on plumbing. So we started with some protocols of 10 to 15 minutes. And within 30 days, everybody saw some significant changes in a nighttime awakening and morning performance, and just feeling better, functioning better, having better circulation. And it's a huge market for that. And then I went online and looked up, and there's a lot of red light therapy people that are actually marketing their devices for reproductive care and prostatic type problems. And it only makes sense that it would work based on increasing circulation, where light is. Apparently in tribes around the world that don't wear underwear, they don't get these problems because they're getting the regular sunlight on their parts. So yeah, there's a whole thing, like we hide everything in the dark, right? And it's not healthy. So to be able to give your body light, whether it's like with my neck, I just celebrated a 50-year anniversary of my neck injury, and that was last August. And so I use the light in the evening before I go to bed. I will be reading and I'll lie on my side and I'll put it on here for 12 to 15 minutes. And the next night I'll put it on here. And I had x-rays of my spine a few months ago, and usually it only gets worse. And compared to where I was 10 years ago and 5 years ago, my neck actually looks better, which is uncommon because I do this for a living. I tell people what we're going to try to do. We can't turn it back, but we can slow it down and perhaps stall it and help you function better. But to actually see positive changes at 50-year-old injury is pretty remarkable. and I can turn my head and do things. And I do other things as well. I do ice therapy and I do traction. I had a massage today, but definitely you need circulation, and that's what the light does.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember seeing the one thing with the one fellow who had the injury with the pickaxe and swung it around and cut the front tendon right through. And they said it was going to be 6 to 9 months. And he was walking in 1 month. So, that's the kinds of things when you're talking of speeding up healing of all kinds. It just does beautiful stuff to all different parts of the body. And
Well, cell division is the answer, right? So, like when somebody gets braces on their teeth, they put them on for 500 to 1,000 days, and they don't mind that at all. But when you want to heal, you want to heal as quickly as you can, and the limiting factor is cell division. So when you have light, your cell division is going to be better, faster, more complete. Your cells are just going to get what they need. Like if you planted a bean seed, and I use this example a lot in my practice, I tell people, everybody in grade 3 or 4 gets a little styrofoam cup and a bean seed and some dirt, and you put the bean seed in, and they learn about how plants work. First thing, it germinates. You get little leaves that come up, you get a stem, then you get some flowers, and then and in 12 weeks, you get beans. But you can't go through those stages any faster there's no way to go through it. You have to go through those stages. So when you're trying to heal something, if you have poor circulation, if you've had an injury, if you're older, if you can use the light, then you can actually accelerate how that works. You're speeding up your healing rate, you're reducing your inflammation, you're creating the best environment for your body to heal. And what we want to do, nobody wants to slow down or stop. So when you can do the right things at the right time, you can enhance your body's performance and not just heal, but heal more completely and feel better in the meantime while you're going through it.
yeah, well, you've been able to see me way back. It used to be, I remember the beginning, it was like 4 or 5 months in a row, and you were trying to help me through all that. And now the speed of turnaround from, re-injuring my back somehow, and now you've been teaching me the better understanding of what I should be doing to help my body. But now when it happens, I'm looking at a couple weeks or less and working with Jerry in that, as opposed to months of pain and trying to get better. So
Well, you put
then,
yourself in a better environment. And now that, we're all learning stuff. And as males, we just usually do things when we're sore. So just as you were trying to say there, you're starting to do things proactively to prevent flare-ups and to look after yourself. And I'm sure that you're doing your light canopy and the small light to keep yourself well when you're
yeah,
healthy. That's the mistake that we make. We wait till we crash and we try to bring it back. So I tell people that come into the practice, we can do this one of two ways. You're a fancy race car, and I think those Formula One cars are worth 15 or 20 million dollars, but they're only good for 10 laps. Then they got to come in and get new tires, they get gas, they get this, they adjust something, they put it back. So if you were looking after yourself and your health, you're like one of those fancy race cars. You come into the chiropractor, you use your red light, you do your exercise, you watch your diet, you pray, you look after the fundamentals, and then you're good. But if you don't look after your fundamentals, you don't do your exercise, you don't do your red light, you're not in your proper life, then what's going to happen now? You're going to come in on the tow truck, and you're going to be there for a while. And it's going to take a while to get you back in shape. What happens, the light is good in both instances. We can help you when you're really acute, but let's say we could take a chronic condition and improve it so dramatically that if you did have an incident or a fall, or you went to play golf and you aggravated yourself, you're in such good condition that you're going to bounce back really fast.
yeah,
That's a pit stop. We want the pit stop. We don't want the tow truck. It's expensive. It takes time. It takes you away from your life. We need to be having a budget in our life for our health. You need a budget for you have your house, you have your vacation, you have your retirement budget. You have to have a budget for your life. So I believe you need to see your dentist, you need to see your doctor, you need to see your chiropractor, you should see your massage therapist. You should have a red light. There's things that help. There's a little handheld massager that I believe is very therapeutic as well. So if you do these things to stay well, like what my friend who teaches these elite athletes does, you're going to be prepared for your life, and you're going to get more birthdays, you're going to have more fun, you're going to have more travel, and you're going to live independent, which is the whole goal. Because unfortunately, right now, I've known in the last year people who are going into retirement homes or their spouses are going in, they're spending $6, $8, $9,000 a month forever for the rest of their life. Maybe they're good people, but maybe they just didn't take care of themselves as well. So if you did some basic stuff, if you had some equipment at home and you used it proactively, your life is so important. Like the runway that we have left. I'm over 60 years old, pushing the big 70. I have a short runway. So we want to be as healthy as we can be right now. So this device helps us to do that, along with other important lifestyle changes as well, so that we can enjoy the next 10, 15, 20 years. Because the last 10 years of decline of life is so dramatic for people. We got to turn that around and give them the tools and the education so they can have a higher quality of life. And that's really what I talk about all day. I want you to do the same thing, because you have so much to offer that if we have you doing pit stops, it'll stop those tow truck visits.
Well, he's seen me for the tow truck visits, and more the last while, it's been more pit stop.
Way better, way better, way better. You're not coming in crooked, and your energy's good. And I just love what you're doing. You're accomplishing amazing things.
Well, I so much appreciate you coming on tonight and sharing with others. And maybe you can hang around later on. There may be some questions that people might have, and we'll bring you
Sure.
back in.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to.
At this point, we're going to go on to another part of our program. So thank
Excellent.
you. So now what I'd like to do is go into our um, PowerPoint presentation, and I want to talk about light and what's different. I mean, I've had this question so many times in the past while. We're going to start from the beginning slide. There we go. Okay, next slide, please. All right. So the big thing is that our light has a it has a good area, whether it's the mini canopy or the large canopy. But the key thing is the power density. If you look at that mini canopy that's there, there's the power level. If I put a power meter and moved it along the top edge, or anywhere around that light panel, you'd see a pretty continuous amount of light output. And just one second here. Do we have the video going for me? For my, yes, please. So thank you. So the if you took that light meter and you just moved it along this, a bit, an inch or two away from the surface, you would see a very even amount of light. And that's because we have the LEDs, as you can see, are very close. And in this case, we have LEDs that if you were to take a 4-inch by 4-inch area, we have about 25 high power LEDs in that area. So that's why we're able to get that kind of radiance, but it's not just little spots of radiance. It's actually over the large area. So we're able to, with that, and I'll show you something coming up, is that we can actually get deeper penetration. But even with the palm light that we have, we have over 100 milliwatts per square centimeter, with over 5,000 milliwatts of optical power, or 5 watts, over that 3-inch area. And again, it's very even. We do the same with the transcranial helmet, is that we actually did lower the power because it was a little bit on the too warm side with 100 milliwatts. So we dropped it down to the 50 milliwatts. Well, we have over 50 milliwatts of radiance on the skull with the transcranial helmet. So in this case, the larger area yields a larger area with our power density, gives us a deeper depth of penetration. So if you're trying to reach a shoulder joint, we can get there. Like if you're trying to reach a knee joint or a hip joint, we have the power density and area to accomplish the case. So if I can go to the next slide, please. So, but large area does not always mean that you'll get deeper depth. And there's lots and lots of panels out there, large panels that cover large areas. But if you looked at the picture, you'll see that there's behind the woman, you can actually see the LEDs. Those LEDs are very far apart. And so the amount of power that's coming from that panel, even if you're standing pretty close to it, is going to be about the 10 to 20 milliwatts per square centimeter when you on a specific wavelength. And a lot of times what they'll even do is mix in different wavelengths to make it look even more impressive by having a few different wavelengths on at the same time. And what we're doing is we actually over our I see that we have one issue on our screen for some reason, but sorry about that. But there's 620 square centimeters on one of these devices, the mini canopy. And then even if we go with the large canopy, which you see in the right-hand side, we still have the 100 milliwatts per square centimeter. And what we do is we don't mix the wavelengths. We put all of the power that we want on the one wavelength, and then you switch it to the other wavelength and get all the power of on that wavelength. And it actually right off the bat, it costs us more than twice as much because we have more than twice the LEDs for doing that. But it's really, really important because we want the right wavelength of energy for the penetration that we want to try and accomplish. And we're really looking at, we're not looking at like the left-hand side panel where it's some light that will help give you some irradiance into your skin, a little bit into your skin, and will have some benefit. There's no doubt about that you'll have some benefit. But if you're really trying to get into the deeper parts of the body, you need to use something like our mini canopy or the large canopy, where the power is so even over that whole area. Next slide, please. So this is a little comparison here on the left side. You see where the LEDs that we're using have a beam angle, and that beam angle puts the light out from each LED to in such a way that every one of them overlaps each other. And so when it hits the treatment surface or the skin surface, it is one very, very even amount of high energy light, high power density. And on the right-hand side, it shows you what happens to a lot of these other devices that have panels of different kinds, where you have the LEDs and they will put even a lens in front of it. And so you have more of a beam coming from it. But in the end, it's spots of light. They're very low in the number of LEDs per, let's say, 4 inches by 4 inches. A very low LED count, maybe 5 LEDs, where we're looking at like 25 LEDs. And they may even have that distributed over 2 wavelengths or 3 or 4 or 5. Whereas we have all of that power, the 25 LEDs in that 4 inch by 4 inch area is very dense. And you can see on the right-hand side, the illustration where the light does get into the body, but it diffuses in all directions, and there's no overlap, and it doesn't help with the penetration that you're trying to reach. Next slide, please. So this is a single spot of laser light. this is a diagram that you'll see if you start doing some homework on the research of light. This one will likely show up. One of many are very similar to this. And one thing they're showing here is that the blue UV, in this case, like the dark color there, is not going to penetrate very deep, whereas blue goes a little bit deeper. Green wavelength goes a little deeper. Then you got the red, which even goes deeper. And then what they're not showing you on this diagram is a near infrared, which even penetrates deeper than that. But the diagram on the right there, where it says that you're looking at roughly, 10 millimeters or a centimeter or half an inch, is all you're going to reach with a laser. And there's some truth to that, because if you try to increase the amount of optical power in a small spot, it'll actually overheat the skin, and that's not good. What they do with higher power lasers is they'll put a diffuser in front of them, so they'll diffuse the light to a little bigger area. But most of them, you still have to keep them moving because it's too much power in one little area. What we're doing is, imagine if you had a red, this may indicate the red light here is 660 nanometer. You would, if you thought of having 1,000 points of light coming down into that skin, into that tissue, now it would go far, far below the bottom of your screen. It's not illustrated here, but that's what would happen. And especially if you went with 810 nanometer, you would penetrate even that much more. So let's go to the next slide, please. So we did do, some would ask, well, you just finished showing a diagram that's been very much accepted by the universities, that they say that all you can do is go 1 centimeter deep. Well, in this diagram here, if you followed the blue line, this is an area. This is what I did about in January 2014, where we did measurements on chicken breast tissue, and what we're able to see is that in the blue is the one where we just had an opening that was 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, so just under a half an inch by a half an inch area. And you can see that, yeah, they're at let's say 2 centimeters deep, or 2.5 centimeters deep. You see we're way up at the 1.2 milliwatt per square centimeter. But by the time you get to 4 centimeters, it's dropped off considerably, way, way down. And then continues to drop as you go deeper in tissues. So some would say that, well, you're not going to get much effect by this. And they're right, there is some reality to this, but it's amazing how even a small amount of light still can make a difference. But what happened is, in this graph, what we did is in the research that we did, is as we made the area bigger, so instead of just having 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, we went 3 centimeters by 3 centimeters with the same power density. And you can see now the brown curve is got higher levels of light energy at various depths. Out to 6 centimeters, you still see that there's an improvement. Well, what we were able to show is that you could go right up to 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, and that's the upper green, darker green. And you can see how much more energy, or how much more, the light that we measured coming through that tissue. It was 5 centimeters thick, this tissue, and we were still, so that's like 2 inches thick, and we still had a considerable amount of light getting through 5 centimeters. And this was at 635 nanometer. And 635 nanometer, we know, well, we knew back then, but we know now more and more people know this, is that the longer the wavelength, the deeper the penetration. So as you go from 635 nanometer to 810 or 1050, you're going to go deeper because the wavelength is longer. And then after you get to a point of around 1300 nanometer, the depth drops right off. So if you have anything with far infrared, or anything beyond 1300 nanometer, there's literally no more penetration into the body. It falls off really, really quickly. By 1350 nanometer, it's gone. So if you pass by a hot stove, stove element, and you see it glowing red, a little bit of red coming from it, but you feel the heat, that is far infrared. Now, far infrared, usually the source of far infrared is really hot. So you couldn't put your hand on the stove's top or you burn your hand, right? But the far infrared will heat up the very surface of your skin, and that's as far as it goes. So if there's a far infrared sauna, it will help you to detox by heating your body up, and that's good, helping your heart, get your heart rate up and that. But it's really the light, the energy, the radiated energy is all absorbed on the surface of the skin and heats up the skin, makes you sweat, and helps you get rid of some toxins. That's not what we're talking about here with near infrared light. Near infrared light will actually penetrate, and I'm going to have to do this sometime, is do another graph like this with the difference with 810 and 1050. We did do something along that lines, and I'll show you in a minute here. So if we can go to the next slide. This is the same type of thing as where you see that the larger area, this is just a bar graph showing basically the same thing, is that when you have a 5 centimeter depth, that as you get a larger area, and that's comes into case with the palm, it's like, so I mentioned about 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, that'd be 100 square centimeters. This is 40 square centimeters, the surface of this device, the palm device. And so you have a considerable amount of optical power coming out of this device and a very high density. And you can see it going right through my hand. That's because it's so even. If I took a piece of paper in front of this, you would see how even the light level is coming off of this. So there are no hot spots that can be harmful from this. People have asked, what about, using it around the eyes? I actually have people that have used the light with their eyelids closed, and they're able to use like 1 minute of red, 1 minute of the near infrared, and actually help the wellness of their eyes. Next slide, please. And I'll just pass by a couple slides here. Go next one. So this one here, we did different types of tissue. And when we got up to a 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter array, you can see that we, with the chicken, we were able to get and chicken is a high muscular content, whereas pig is more fat content. And so fat has more scattering. So there's less light that's going into the depth when you're talking with the pig tissue. And this again was done at 635 nanometer. Looks a lot different if we were to look at 810, 1050. Okay, let's go ahead and slide, and I'll keep going. We did lots of different studies with measurement of light, all different ways through tissue over the years, and we've been able to really figure out how the scattering of light in tissue actually helps for the depth. In this case, we were shining light in the bottom of almost like a casserole dish, and it was amazing that as the tissue was thicker, that more light ended up way over at the 5 centimeter across position. Next slide, please. And that's how we had the 5 positions. Next slide. And we here again, we're showing that as the tissue was thicker, as you see in the yellow line, that there was more light getting all the way across to the 5 centimeter away from the source of the light. So it was a scattering that was taking place laterally. Next slide, please. We did mouse work with treating through 5 centimeters of pork breast tissue. Next slide, please. And I did do a presentation in London, England, and with that we had very specialized light measurement equipment, and the whole idea was to compare LEDs versus lasers. And I'll just go to the next slide, please. This is not something that you get off the moon, and this is a very specialized light device. It's it almost looks like an exercise ball, but it costs about $10,000 for a new one. And what we're able to do is very accurately with this type of device and another device that was coupled to it, be able to other devices, I should say, because we did do multiple measurement devices to confirm that we were getting the results that we were. In the end, what happens is this allows you to measure how much light was going through that little opening on the top. And we put tissue, steak, pork, and chicken on top of that opening on the top. And it's totally closed in. So we did dim the lights as well, just to make sure that there was no stray light coming in to interfere with our measurements. But we were able to very accurately measure what lasers and LEDs could do. Next slide, please. So here's my SunPowerLED device just on top. The surface kind of shows you shining through the hole. So we measured what was going through before we started putting the tissue on top. Here's laser on chicken. And then you see the middle that was at 810 nanometer. And then on the right-hand side, we used a device 1064 nanometer laser on shining through the tissue as well. So next slide, please. So the LEDs are on the left, and the lasers on the 660 nanometer laser. And what we did is, because the laser was much less power than my device, this graph doesn't show it, but what we were able to do is we multiplied the readings, so we were fair. So we started off with the same optical power at the surface. But what you can see from this diagram is that basically you see the same type of slope occurring with the different type of materials, tissues that we're dealing with. Next slide, please. Here's an example of this is now corrected for the power difference. So in this case, the 810 nanometer, all the readings for the 810 nanometer laser, we multiplied by 10 because it was only 500 milliwatts, where my light was 5 watts or 5,000 milliwatts. On the left side, you see the 810 nanometer with a corrected value for the 810. And you can see that the LED and the laser were extremely close in how much light level got through the tissue, depending on whether it was close to 3/4 of an inch, 1.5 or 2.25 inches of tissue, you could see how much it was the same. So it didn't matter whether it was an 8-10 nanometer or our device. We ended up with the same same optical power coming through. On the right hand bottom side, you see where we've actually this was with the 1050 nanometer our palm device, the Super Palm, versus a 1064 nanometer laser. Now, doesn't look like much difference. There's a little bit, as you look at the 2.25 inches, the laser is giving us a little more optical power through the tissue. But the difference is the Super Palm you can buy for $1,900, and the laser you can buy for $20,000 to $30,000. So our devices are giving us similar light measurements through tissue. So it doesn't matter so much whether you have a laser or an LED. It really depends on what I showed you earlier with the LED density. Next slide, please. And oh, it's not showing. So we're going to call quits on this part of the slide because our presenter machine software or whatever is incorrect. So we'll cancel this and we'll just go on to it. Okay, so what we'll do right now is we're going to go into our short little video that we have, and then we're going to get into questions, and we would love to have your questions. So please consider what something that's been on your mind, and I've got Dr. Jerry Morris still online. So if we can, if there's questions that you direct towards him, we'll try and give you our best efforts on answering them. So let's go to the video now.
PBM stands for Photobiomodulation. Photo being light, bio being biology, and light, well, light coming from some kind of source. In this case, PBM is used to help stimulate healing in the body, whether it's an LED, whether it's a laser, whether it's the sun, but that light comes through the skin layers, and actually the cells are able to absorb that light, converting it to energy, and then there's a host of different processes that are stimulated because of that light. So you can speed up healing, you can do different things that is very beneficial for the cells themselves, for healing, for reduction of inflammation, and a host of other things. Kerber USA is a company that we have set up to promote healing for the US and around the world. We would like to see this technology help a lot of people. We use LED technology where we can provide high amounts of light into the body, and that stimulates healing. I'd like to introduce you to the SunPowerLED Palm Ultimate. This device here has the most power of the series of devices. This light can produce a huge amount of light that can enter into the body and help speed up that healing. In this device, we have two different wavelengths. It's 660 nanometer, and as you can see, it's very bright, but it's very effective. You will cause a systemic effect with this wavelength of light. The other wavelength is 810. It's not very visible, but it penetrates very deep, and that can help as well reach the target that you're trying to reach. The main part about this light is that we have the power behind it and the large surface area that can reach very deep into the body. We believe that our product is the most powerful LED cluster under the sun. We have specification of this device of 150 milliwatts per square centimeter, and that is over this entire area of 40 square centimeters. It also provides a wall of light that comes through the skin and is able to reach depths that have never been able to be done before with other light products on the market. There's an interesting biblical passage in Malachi 4:2 that talks about the healing that comes from the rays of the sun. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide healing with these rays. PBM has also been shown in various studies to be able to help promote healing in wounds such as diabetic ulcers, venous ulcers, and other areas where cuts or burns or other types of wounds are on the skin level. If you have any questions about PBM and how our light device, the SunPowerLED Palm Series, can help you, please reach out to us and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
All right, so now we'd like you to send over your questions. You got a few here coming through right now, and if there's some in particular for Dr. Morris, that'd be fantastic as well, but we'll see what happens. I'll try and answer some of the tough ones, and I'll give you the easy ones. How's that?
Sounds good to me.
Anyways, a question here comes in from Jeff Buys. Tom, on the internet, many spas and companies advertise LED facial masks for home use. Some of them have red and blue. Others sell 7 colors, adding green, yellow, cyan, magenta. Prices vary, it appears, by the number of LEDs in the mask, ranging from 190 LEDs to $300 kind of thing to 4,000 and so on. So do any of these work? What about the non-red and non-blue colors? So my understanding of masks, although we have not gone after the cosmetic aspects, our red and near infrared light can make improvements on the collagen. But when it comes to masks, there's no problems. I do think there's some benefit to some of the other wavelengths if you're not trying to penetrate deep. So blue colors and there's other wavelengths that have been found to be helpful. They operate a little differently. If you're trying to penetrate deeper, then you really need to go to the red and near infrared. Yeah, and Scott, if you wanted to text out that question that you have, that'd be great. Okay, so as far as a number of LEDs, one thing I didn't specify is that, or maybe I did, but the LEDs that we're using are very high power LEDs. And there's also very low power LEDs around. And this is using the basic low, most of the masks, not most, all of the masks are using very low power LEDs. So when we're talking of 190 LEDs or 2,400 LEDs, this is all using very low power LEDs. So that's hopefully that can answer your question. As far as it could be useful, you will have to do your own homework on the masks to try and learn. Okay, question, how does the light, this is from Carla, how does the light penetrate fat under the skin? Well, as a matter of fact, fat is, you can penetrate fat. It's just that the light scatters in all directions. So it makes it harder to go through. It's not that it won't, it just will be harder to go through. So that's why we can literally, even with 635 nanometer in that other, I didn't show you the diagram, but we had done a 11 centimeter in diameter breast, and we had enough light. This is going back 13 years ago. We had enough light to reach the center of the breast and for a specific type of treatment. So yeah. Okay, so Susan used it on on her cat with a urinary blockage, and not entirely successful, but it reduced the pain. And yeah, that's something that we have been able to see is definitely reduction of pain, and then over time you would see more effects as far as help on other parts of the body. My mother had a total knee replacement and has great pain still. Any recommendations for the red light? Absolutely. It's beautiful on when even after surgery. Ideally to do light therapy before going into surgery. It's kind of like trauma. Hey Jerry, when you pre-treat areas, or you get into better shape, as you were talking about, you can encounter that trauma much better if you are healthier before you go into that trauma. Same
Yeah,
with
we do that with all of our knee and hip patients before they go in for their surgery. We get them feeling almost so good they don't want to go because they say they're feeling better, but we know we've just reduced their inflammation. We've got their range of motion. We've got their muscles active. So when they show up for their operation, they're in better shape. So if you can regenerate your cells, reduce your inflammation, and feel better going in, your recovery is going to be that much easier.
Yeah, exactly. And then afterwards, to use the light to help further reduce the inflammation. And any considerations using it on non-tissue parts of our knee? I'm wondering, Glenn, if you're asking about titanium, and I've had that question a lot. Different parts, where you have different materials, whether it's plastics or other types of compounds or structures that they use. It is not a problem to shine the light on that area, because first of all, the light, if it's warm on the surface, it's even cooler as you go into the body, because the blood flow is going to go through the area, taking away any heat. So it's not, even if you had it hot on the surface, you're not going to have heat build up inside, because blood flow will be taking it away from the area. Um, so, okay, Bill Campbell is saying less information on pit stops and plumbing. Hard on old men. I can read that a couple different ways depending on how you punctuate that whole thing. Uh, is the palm unit good for SI pain? Pain of all kinds can be helped to reduce. It's really neat how light can penetrate the area and then help speed up the healing, and that's huge. Got a question from Susan. Just give me a moment here. Okay, so Susan, it's very good to see that you are getting into the science of this. And she said one of the companies makes a handheld that says it has a radiance of 100 milliwatts per square centimeter at 3 inches. Its beam angle 60 degrees with 12 lenses, dual chips, and she has a lot more information. It seems like it has the same power of the Palm, but it's a third of the cost. What am I not understanding? One thing is that they may claim this, and a lot of this stuff comes out of China. Shouldn't say a lot of it. All of it pretty much comes out of China, and we do manufacture in North America, but I do have the proper light measurement equipment to measure this. And even if if you were able to put your light measurement device, and I've got some really expensive stuff, when you measure it here, you get a certain light level. If you measured it a half an inch over, that light level, maybe it read 100 milliwatts per square centimeter here, but half an inch over, it's only reading 50, and then another half inch over, it's reading 25. So it really isn't the light, and it's not an even illumination with the same power all the way along. It's a spot of 100 milliwatts here, a spot of 100 milliwatts here, and a spot of 100 milliwatts there. So that's the best way. And I welcome you to contact me directly, and I'll actually demonstrate this for you. I do not have it set up right now, so I'm glad to try and assist you with your understanding directly. No problem. Totally understand. That's a very good question that you had, Susan. Tamara's asking, how do you know which red light is legit? I have spas in the area who offer red light therapy that looks like a tanning bed. It comes back to there's even, you can pay $150,000 for a Thor, light bed, and it's a pretty decent unit. It covers a large area. Again, if you're trying to just treat surface stuff, many of the devices out there might work. But when you're trying to treat deeper pain situations, that's where you need the energy the density, the power density and the energy to penetrate deeper. How would I use the light for meniscus pain? This is from Carla. Carla, you just use the light directly on the area for, I would say about three minutes of the red, and something like probably about 7 minutes of the near infrared, 7 to 10 minutes on each area, and go right around the whole knee area, because you do definitely want to get the back of the knee for inflammation. I'm sorry, I'll think of it. It's not coming to me. Oh, it'll come back to me. But lymphatic, there you go. The lymphatic system drains through the back of the knee. So very key to learn about lymphatics and how you can help that. So Bob is asking, Dr. Jerry, can staying on the light for a very long time reduce the benefits? Or say in a case of eyelids, should I be more cautious? Okay, that's a question.
Did you say eyelids?
Yeah, so we have been using, so it's possible to close your eyelids, but under light, unless you're using it for actually eye treatment with your eyelids closed, I'd always recommend that you have your eyelids closed, because it diffuses the light in all directions. But I don't know exactly what kind of treatments you're talking about, Bob. Whether you're talking of large canopies, and some will, even if you, for comfort, you can wear some almost like sunglasses that'll reduce the power, the light that you sense, or it just makes you feel a little more comfortable that way. Sorry, Jerry, I don't know about that question there, but okay. Knee injury, using anti-inflammatory cream. Can I use the light as well and get more effect? Yeah, you will find that sometimes combination therapies will be very beneficial. Jerry, you use that all the time, right? Different combinations, and it helps speed things up.
Well, there's many. You can use ice. There's a lot of different therapies you can use. Do you want whatever's going to, have the greatest effect to regenerate the cells and reduce inflammation? So of course you're going to have both. Now, I don't know enough about the photoreactivity. Maybe you have some chemicals with light, but I can't imagine that it would be a problem. It's be
No.
outside of my knowledge, though.
Yeah, the only time that the light is something that is a challenge is when you're dealing with antibiotics, and you can react to the UV in the sunlight with antibiotics. But otherwise, I don't know of any creams outside of the specialized ones that I know of for cancer there's no creams that I'm aware of that have any photodynamic or photo effects that would be a challenge. You know, you can always try an area with the light and the cream, and if you notice that you're getting some edema, some redness after the fact, you might not want to do that. That might be something that may not be best. You see, there's another question from Susan. Do titanium tooth implants or titanium implants cause damage with the red light? No, no, we've got a lot of dentists using the light for different types of implants. And the cool part is people have been able to avoid, even in some of the cases where they have an abscess, they've been able to avoid a root canal. If they use it for a while, they can help the body to heal the area. So it's possible. Always check with your doctor or your dentist or whoever you're working with, but light therapy can be very effective. We're coming up to 8 o'clock here now, so I just want to thank everyone for the questions that they've posed tonight. And thank you very much, Jerry, for coming on and spending some of your time with us. And appreciate it very much. I hope people caught the vision of what you've been talking about too, about treating ahead of time, like giving your body good stuff to take on challenges in the future, having a better life in the future. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And right now.
Yeah, don't put it off another 10 years.
Well, a lot of people think they have 1,000 problems till they have a health problem. Then they only have one. So, be as healthy as you can now. Don't wait till you're sick. Take care of yourself is the message.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you. Well, and
I always learn something on here too.
our
So
next,
thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Our next webinar will be next Tuesday, January 14th. Have a great week. May God richly bless people out there who are trying to get better.
Amen.
All right, all the best. Bye for now.